Back up soon. This is the dual monkey yoga try.
I didn't all the
sounders back out again.
Right?
Did she? I haven't talked to you about it since you went.
She was coached by Levy.
Ooh.
And it's Catherine. No.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Two-time World Cup winner, two-time Olympic gold medalist, and she's texting you. So, you know,
4 days a week.
the boys are modest.
It's right there behind what used to be the house.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right.
She's perfected it. She's
Prepared for snow pretty
Yeah,
well.
it was pretty was really good.
Nice.
Yeah, when she was there,
We would always sail for a long
girl
time.
from Florida, and she was.
You go to like a little one,
So it's the same guy that's
Started,
in,
3 to 4
usually
days.
is in his office.
one day we go fast.
Same person.
Mike Prince.
What's that? Yeah.
Hotel side of the building.
Outside, about towards the middle of the night.
They have more scouts there too.
Yes, and so they have national teams.
Tell when those guys come out, I go, I better finish that task. I'm getting behind my story.
They were probably not allowed to talk.
Where she's at now,
They can?
college, yes, so she's done some unofficial visits. and-
But you go and you go each one has different bars and restaurants.
So, wow, that's important.
You look at about a week and a half to get your bubble.
Exactly.
Headed out
Gotta
there.
go with the jerky.
Yeah, we're gonna take my mom.
You all.
Yeah.
You know how I like when boys are nice to their moms? It's a big deal for me.
So this is one of the nice ones.
I don't have a choice. No, I'm just kidding.
I texted this one.
Look, how are you? Doing well, thanks.
Good evening, I have 6:30, so if we could call our meeting to order. And if I could please have a motion to move to executive session for the purposes of discussing employment history of particular persons.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
What's that?
Kick this out.
Yeah,
So you're not out.
my evaluation, yeah. They need to have a conversation.
So you're in an executive session again.
They're not gonna spend a lot of time.
So what I was trying to say to you before is, she has a copy of the one before I had it. For the dates. You know what I mean? On the hand.
Good evening. Could please stand for the pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening all, and welcome to our regular meeting of February 8th. If I could please have a motion to approve our minutes of regular meeting, January 25.
So, second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I do not have any comments. I know I normally drone on and on. And we have no updates to this evening's agenda, and I have no correspondence to communicate for the good of the order. Comments from you, Superintendent?
I do have some comments. I'm thankful for folks here tonight, thankful for the opportunity to talk a couple of minutes anyway about the Homer District and where we've been and where we are and where we're headed as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, when this all started back in, March of 2020, the district embarked on a voyage that we didn't know was coming. But we had three things that we really wanted to make sure that we did throughout it, and thankful for the support of being able to do it. The three things we really wanted to keep in mind was, you know, how do we do right by kids, you know, by our students and by our staff to the greatest extent possible, knowing that we didn't know a lot. We wanted to make sure that we were thoughtful and calculated when we were implementing a whole host of regulations that were coming out, seemingly changing by the day from the local, state, and federal level. And then the last thing we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that we were honest and clear in our communications with the public when we knew the direction that we were headed. And so with that thought in mind, I want to take you back in time a little bit. You know, March of 2020, the world stopped for a lot of people. We sent all of our kids and all of our staff home. Within days, 2-3 days, the district transitioned from in-person to virtual learning. We set up sites around the district for food distribution. It wasn't ideal, but it was incredible the work that got done, and it wouldn't have been able to be done if it hadn't been for the collaboration that we had with the community. We asked parents to do some things that they had never been asked to do before, to be much more of an educator for their child than they had to in the past, and our community really responded well. If you remember, we were able to have a senior parade and a caravan around the district to congratulate all of the seniors on the accomplishments that they had made. We were able to have a graduation, an in-person graduation. Granted, we had 4 of them because we couldn't put a lot of people together, but we had a graduation ceremony for everyone and really feel like tried to make the best out of certainly less than a wonderful situation. Coming back in the fall of 2020, you know, the district set up health and safety guidelines and protocols that we wanted to make sure would help keep staff and students safe. We put a priority on in-person instruction, and we're able to bring a large number of our kids back every day. and do it safely. We were able to offer athletic and musical experiences for our kids, when quite honestly a lot of other districts weren't. You know, as we moved into the spring of '21, we were able to increase the number of students that came. We were again able to offer athletic and musical experiences. They looked different, felt different, but we were able to have kids active. We were able to have a large-scale graduation at Butts Field, which, quite honestly, I want to continue moving forward. I think everybody enjoyed that. And again, the most important thing, right, we were able to give the kids some sense of normalcy and staff when a lot of other places, quite honestly, weren't able to do that. You know, and it brings us to this school year. We're still in COVID. Never thought we would be. I thought when June came around last year, we were on the back end of it. Little did we know that it was going to rear its ugly head again. And I'm not, you know, trying to wax this, you know, too positive. I mean, it was tough, right? And it still is tough, and it's less than ideal. Many of our kids and staff have been quarantined numerous times because they've been exposed to somebody with COVID. You know, obviously we still have to wear masks and we have to be socially distanced, and that's not a normal thing. But again, we're continuing to do that. And the social emotional distress that we're seeing in our kids and some of the adults that work with the kids is not only here now, but it's going to be with us for a long time, and we have to continue to plan for that. But one of the things that I want to point out that I think has stayed constant throughout this entire thing that I'm really proud of is the level of communication that we've had with our community and they back with us. I can't tell you the number of community members that have either emailed or called or stopped in or texted or stopped me and others like me on the street and talked to us, and not always agreeing with what we were doing, but felt comfortable at least talking to us about it, which I think is the important thing. And tonight's no different. I know we have some folks here that are going to talk to us about ways in which they feel we should be moving forward, and we honestly want to hear what you have to say. So, you know, moving forward in the district, there are changes. I don't know if any of you saw it, but Governor Hochul was out and about today talking about the mask mandate and saying that for at least through the end of what she said is the February break, which for us is the week of the 21st of February, that the mask mandate will stay in place, but that, and I'll use her words, she stated a change is under consideration, but didn't really offer a timeline for that. It is important for you to know that when the mask mandate does go away, and I do believe that it'll be sooner rather than later based upon what you're seeing, the district will have that as an option for families, meaning if your family thinks that wearing masks is a way to go, you can do that, and if you don't, you can do that also. The thing that we have to be careful of and we have to be assured of, though, is that one of the things we've done well throughout this pandemic is follow the law, and the law currently states that the masks have to be worn, and so we're going to continue to have that expectation. But one of the things that we have to make sure we do as well moving forward, especially when and if the mask mandate changes, is that we're respectful of each other's opinions. If I choose to wear a mask, that's okay. That's my choice. That's what I think I need to do. If I choose not to, that's okay as well. And so we'll be reiterating to our staff that that's the expectation moving forward. But I have the utmost confidence in our ability to move forward positively. And I thought it was important to at least share that information with you tonight.
We're going to move right into our board presentations, and this evening we're going to have a budget presentation.
We are going to continue down the road toward our budget vote later this spring. Michael and I are going to spend a few minutes talking with you about some information that we find interesting and hope that you do as well. I'll start off with the first couple of slides, and the first slide that I'll show you are our free and reduced numbers as well as our enrollment. The orange bars are the enrollment numbers from 2007 to the present. You can see the high water mark in 2007. We had 2,226 students, down to the present day 1,853 students. The line that you see that is going up as the enrollment numbers are going down are our free and reduced numbers. you can see that over that same period of time, 2007 to 2021, our free and reduced numbers have gone from a low of 24.62% in 2007 up to our current number of 43.66. So what I'd like you to take away from that is our enrollment going down. You can see we've kind of leveled off since 2018, but while the enrollment numbers are going down slightly or starting to level off, our need has gone up. And whenever we're building a budget, we have to keep those, both of those numbers in mind. The second slide is our staffing ratios. Again, down the bars are the number of students in the district from 2009 to 2021. And the line up at the top are the number of full-time employees, so our instructional staff that we have that are working with the kids. And the purpose for, the reason for including this information for you is that one of the things, again, that we try to do in Homer and have done certainly since I've been here, 22 years, and well before that, we tried to be smart and make sure that we had the number of staff that we needed to meet the needs of the kids at the time. So our practice over the course of time has been to evaluate every position. When we have somebody that leaves the district, whether it's by retirement or moving to another district, we want to take a look at that position and ask ourselves, first of all, is it needed? Second of all, are we getting the best use out of that position? And if we're not, to repurpose it to meet the needs of kids. But overall, we have gone down as the enrollment has gone down, but those positions, a lot of those have changed. You know that we've been fortunate to add this year alone some pre-K positions that are really going to help us get our youngest off to a great start in the district. We're proud of the ability to be able to do that, and thank you for that. But just wanted to share this with you to at least demonstrate that we recognize that we need to be thoughtful about our staffing as it relates to the overall enrollment of the district. Questions on those first two before I turn it over to Michael?
Thank you. So we had talked at the last meeting that the runs had come out from the governor's office on foundation aid, and that we're looking at a restoration in the foundation aid. Again, remember, foundation aid is the amount that we receive per pupil in the district. So it's a per pupil amount. Going back to 16-17, you can see foundation aid started out at about 14.8 million. That was after the gap elimination restoration. If you remember back, the state withheld about $2.4 million of this foundation aid over a series of years, and then returned it back to districts. They didn't increase the foundation aid, they returned the aid that they had taken away. As you can see, roughly rising on a yearly basis, anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. As we got into 2019, 2020, and 2020-21, the governor froze foundation aid at the same amount, so you'll see that both at $16.1 million, that foundation aid frozen. It was after that point in time that laws that were passed roughly 20 years ago now became effect, part and parcel, to fund foundation aid the way it should be per pupil. Prior to that, there were formulas, and every year they would add a piece to that formula that would reduce aid for districts. So where you should have received an increase, they found a portion where they could actually reduce aid or not increase aid. So in this court agreement, they now are looking at full foundation aid, basically restoration, in the 23-24 school year. So you're going to see moving from 2021 to 21-22, and then into our forecasted year of 22-23, you can see those jumps in foundation aid of about $500,000. We're going to forecast that to possibly increase foundation aid this year because it is an election year. And we have found that in years of an election year, you will see foundation aid increase from the governor's proposal to the legislative proposal. So again, these are preliminary numbers, the ones that came out in our first run in January. We will expect in the end of March to have a modification to those numbers, hopefully more to the positive. Our next piece, again, just to remind you that at our virtual meeting on February 28th, we will be voting on the tax levy limit, or what's been traditionally called the tax cap. Again, the tax levy limit is the amount that you can tax, the percentage you can tax, or the amount you can tax, where your vote, so when people come to vote in May, to pass a budget, you need 50% of your voters to say yes, plus one individual. If not, if you exceed that tax levy limit when we go out for our budget, then you need a supermajority, which is over 66%. If you do not receive that supermajority, you immediately go to a contingency budget, which essentially does not allow you to raise taxes from last year's amount. So that's essentially the piece there. So again, we talked about this slide in the last meeting, the actual tax levy where we're at. Moving forward, our tax levy limit could be an increase of up to 3.83%, or $652,478. So to give you a history, going back from 14-15 to our projected to the present, you can see what our tax levy limit was, and then you can see what the actual increase was. So you can see over the span from 16-17 or 15-16 down to 17-18, the amounts that really the threshold was at were not very great. That was based on spending in New York State. So again, we went out at a 0% increase. We did go over 3 years at 1.9, and last year we went out at 1%. So at 22-23, you can see what the threshold will be. We will clean up that final number. We have a couple numbers still to come in. However, I don't anticipate that number changing at 3.83%. That is not the amount that we are going to go out with in the budget at this point. So I just want that clear. All you're going to vote on the 28th is for that number to be our threshold. I left the box blank because we will make that determination as a budget and finance group, and inevitably the board, at what actual tax levy increase we would go out for next year's budget. So just to make that clear, that when you make that determination, that vote on the tax levy threshold, you are not committing yourself to a number that you would go out for taxes. So again, our review of just our benefits in this key piece of the budget, our teachers' retirement system. So for the teachers' retirement system that's operated by New York State, we are required for every teacher and teacher's assistant in that retirement system, we have to pay a percentage of their salary into the retirement system every year. We are obligated to do so. So there's not much of a change going from 21-22 to 22-23. It's right around 9.8%. To give you some history, at one point it was up around 17%. So we're looking at that. Where it also behooves us is we've had retirements. We've had retirements over the past 5 years. We've had roughly, between TAs and teachers, almost 30 retirements. So when you have new staff come on, you're paying that percentage on a lower salary. So you can see here that our TRS payments, actual and then proposed. Again, our proposed, we do have staff coming in through the grants, through the federal grants. However, we still have to pay state retirement on those employees that we're paying through the federal grants. So our proposed was at $1.7 million, and we're really estimating it to stay around the same with retirements for next year. ERS, so everyone who is not a teacher's assistant or teacher or administrator in the district would fall under the employee's retirement system. Again, same process, a percentage of the salaries that are made across the district are then paid into the employee retirement system. Along with this, and I should say for both of the retirement systems, if someone is a new teacher, they will pay a portion of their retirement into the system. So they pay towards their own retirement to become vested in the system so they can get the benefits once they retire down the road. So again, you can see roughly small increases as we move through. And again, we're forecasting that amount to remain the same for next year. Our FICA, our workers' compensation and unemployment, again, small increases as we move through. And not really a tremendous increase going from 1.5 million to 1.6, or I should say $1,582,850 to $1.6 million. Our health and our dental insurance. This is a big piece of our budget. Again, through the benefits that we offer to everyone working in the district, employees based on contracts or terms and conditions do pay a percentage of this back to the district, but the lion's share is paid by the district. Also, retirees are part of this calculation as well. So you're looking really with health and dental insurance, it can go up anywhere between 6 to 8% a year. Now, as we're adding more staff and people have the ability to take the insurance, they can take a family policy, they can take an individual policy. Individual policy for health insurance is around $8,000 to $9,000. A family insurance policy will run you close to $23,000. So that just kind of gives you an idea of why that number runs so high. However, to give kudos out to some of our employee unions in the district, they have negotiated with us to take different prescription plans, to do a different way of handling how their insurance is done. And we've been able to drop the insurance prices across the board. Not in tremendous amounts, but in manageable amounts. So we're not seeing huge increases. So that's a nice piece. With our dental insurance this year, our dental insurance comes due, the plan comes due every every January. I was able to work with Emeritus this year and say, look at, right now and with inflation and things of that nature, how about we start it with all our other plans which start July 1st? They were amenable to that based on the number of people we have in the plan. So we would actually start our new rate 6 months later. Which again, it's not a huge savings, but it's a savings to the district moving forward. So again, taking a look at our benefits, these are just a kind of a snapshot. Does anyone have any questions about the benefits in the district? And again, as we move through to really finalize budget numbers, our estimated numbers will be a little clearer, a little cleaner for budget and finance. So this is our debt service. Again, remember our debt service for the district, whenever we do a project in the district, this is our mortgage. This is the money that we owe. So taking a look at this, you have our 2003 project. We refinanced our 2017 our 2009 project. We refinanced it for a better rate in 2017. Our 2013 project, our 2019 turf project, our EPC, our energy performance project right now. So we had to modify that because essentially, if you look at 2022, so these are all year ending, we should have made a full payment this year, but as we are going through the budget, we realized we were not going to finish the project by last June. We will finish it this year, so that'll push out the financing by a year. And again, you're going to see, and as we have forecasted moving through, when we get down to 2025, that's when we are going to be essentially pulling the next project onto the books. So again, with our debt service in tow there. One thing that's not reflected in there in the debt service, because it's not part of our principal and interest payments, are the reduction in costs that we will have associated with the EPC as we move forward. So that's not calculated into this figure. That would show itself in another figure when we talk about utilities. Okay. Any questions about the debt service?
So one of the things we did want to let you know is we have four of you who had volunteered to be on the Budget and Finance Committee. Just want to make sure I have the names accurate, and if anybody else wanted to join, you're more than welcome. But Aaron, Luke, Julie, and Chuck. So what we would like to do is set up, and we'll email you tomorrow, we'd like to set up a meeting to talk in more detail so that we can report back to the board at our next meeting. So we'll reach out to you. Tentatively looking at next Tuesday, but we can modify that if we need to, okay? All right, thank you. Thank you, folks, appreciate it.
Thanks, Ed.
Now we're going to move to old business. If I could please have a motion to approve for second reading the policies listed.
So moved. Second.
If there are questions or comments regarding the policy, if you could please name the policy, that would be helpful. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? If I could have a motion to accept the reports from the Committee on Preschool Special Education.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? If I could have a motion to accept the reports from the Committee on Special Education.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? A motion to accept the donation at the junior high.
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments regarding the donation?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? A motion to accept the donation buildings and grounds.
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments?
Any idea where the tree's going?
Not yet.
I can go football.
We'll find a very,
Is that anywhere on the properties or at the high school?
it's a donation made by the class. We
So
can
you're
put it
gonna-
where we want to, yeah.
Okay.
Additional questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Are we at community voice?
We are.
Okay. So at this portion of our meeting, we entertain public comment. We do have some guidelines as it relates to that. Any public wishing to be heard, we ask that you please identify yourself or the group or organization you represent. You limit your comments to 2 minutes. So I'm just kind of, and typically the board will not engage. Our role in this is to listen and gather information from you that you bring to us. And I think that's about it.
Well, and then if you have anything that you had written that you wanted to leave with us, you can do that as well.
First up, Pat Mackey.
Sure, do I sit right here, do I go?
You can say whatever you're
Whatever
comfortable
makes you
with, Pat.
comfortable, yeah.
Thanks for having me. My name's Pat Mackey. I'm a concerned parent and taxpayer. What is science? Science is a process, right? It consists of experiments and observations. This information is then incorporated into a process as it's discovered. I feel like a lot of our bureaucratic people, health bureaucrats, our government bureaucrats are exploiting this term. No matter how many times they say trust the science, if you can't question the science, then how can you trust the science? Experts, they say we didn't need masks at the beginning. And then they said, yeah, we did need them. Then when they said we needed to wear them outside. Then we needed 3 of them. Then we need to put pantyhose over the top of them. It's just getting ridiculous. These cloth surgical masks, they're not adequate anymore. And our kids have been learning them for 2 years, and now they're saying that these masks were not adequate. So now they're pushing the N95 mask on our kids, which I'm a contractor, I've done lots of things. If you've ever worn an N95 mask, it sucks. It's the worst thing ever. But scientists knew from the start that the mask never worked. Anthony Fauci, really, he told us from the start, there is no reason to be walking around with a mask. I quote, when you are in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel better. It may stop a few droplets, but it is not giving adequate protection. Wearing masks comes with unseen consequences. This was March 2020 on 60 Minutes. So what has science proved about face masks on children? In addition to hypoxia and hypercapnia, research shows and common sense says that breathing through masks creates bacteria and germs. Humidity and heat also releases toxins from these masks. And here our kids are in them 7 hours a day. It has been proven by science that masks can harbor anywhere from 13 to over 200,000 different viruses. Did you know that most people died from bacterial pneumonia during the Spanish flu? And that was from wearing masks. This was the only other time in history where face coverings were widely used. It's crazy, right? It gets crazier. Most cloth masks like this one have holes the size of 60 to 80 microns. We all know the size of corona. It's 1/10 of a micron to half a micron in size. That makes 0 sense. I've never seen a biologist wear a head sock or a bandana to protect themselves. I refuse to accept this as normal. It's not normal. Another issue is the psychological and mental effects that it's had on our kids. Psychiatrists are seeing an uptick in depression and anxiety in children. Children as young as 3 or 4. Who the heck would ever think that children 3 or 4 would have depression? Are you kidding me? More teens and teens are harming themselves than ever before. Young children are falling behind academically. Children not seeing facial expressions or seeing their teachers enunciate words. Infants begin looking at their mother's mouth region in the first few months of development. This is like crazy to me. Research also shows that both children and adults show impaired ability to recognize emotions while wearing a mask. Like now you can't see that I'm really upset. What about deaf children? Not able to connect with their peers because they can't read their lips. What are the long-term effects going to be? None of us know. Not one of us know. What a shame. It's all a shame. A shame that we let this go on this long. It's a shame that it's became normal behavior. This is not normal. All for a virus with the same or higher survival rate than the seasonal influenza. Children should not fear coronavirus or any other disease. They are children. Children. I know as a kid, I wasn't worried that my friend might have had the flu, and I was in contact with them, and I went home to see my parents. I was not worried about it, and my parents weren't worried about it either. They were telling me to go play in the dirt. You know, fear is no way to live, and I refuse to let my kid accept all of this as normal, because it's not normal. And before I hand the mic off to the next concerned parent, I do have a couple questions for you guys. How much money did Homer Central School District receive from the state to implement social distancing, face coverings, and or PPE? Another question I have is what cleaners are being used to disinfect the classrooms in the school? And I would like to get a data sheet for all of them. Thank you very much. And I also would like to leave you with 47 studies that confirm ineffectiveness of masks for COVID-19 and 32 more that confirm their negative health effects.
Pat, will you do me a favor on that? Can you write a way for it to contact, because you asked some questions, so we can follow up with you with.
Tom's got my number.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we can find you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you.
I think it's Chad Hall.
Good evening. My name is Chad Hall. I'm not here to cause any problems with anybody. I appreciate everything you guys do. I talked my wife into moving to this school district because I love Homer. I graduated in 2006, and this school seriously is an amazing school district. So I understand you guys, this is a tough situation for you guys too. I'm here to speak on behalf of my son. I drop both of my boys off at school every day. And when they sometimes say to me, Dad, do I have to wear this? It breaks my heart. My 7-year-old son has been kicked out of school for 3 days for choosing not to wear his mask and breathe fresh air. That is 3 days of social interaction and learning that he has been deprived of over a cloth face mask, not covering his face. They used to have children hide under their desks to protect them from a nuclear bomb blast. These mandates are similar in the fact that they're ineffective. Recent studies have shown the cloth masks do little, if anything, to protect anyone from getting sick. Conversely, when wearing an N95, it does not matter what those around you are doing. Therefore, if teachers or parents are concerned and wish to mask, they can wear an N95, and that'd be similar, you know, and that way children that don't want to wear the mask, or it really is affecting them mentally. Children need to be allowed to see their friend's face and teachers' smiles when they do something good in school. Like, your teacher smiles is one of the best memories you can have as a child, and they don't get to see that. All they see is the eyes, and you can say that you can see emotion through eyes, but you can't. I don't even recognize half the people when they take their mask off versus when they have it on. They need to be able to run around and play freely. They need to be able to breathe freely. It absolutely breaks my heart that my 4-year-old son has never known school without a face covering and mask Mondays. The mandates have been detrimental to our children's development. This is affecting children in ways that we would not fully know for years. You know what doesn't break my heart is seeing our children stand up for what they believe and push back just a little bit, just enough to make their point clear that enough is enough. Our children want their childhood back. You know what else doesn't break my heart is seeing this small but very dedicated group. They're motivated. I know some of you have the courage to do what's right. This mandate is unconstitutional and illegal. It's a mandate, it's not a law. An unelected governor made these mandates, and she doesn't have her emergency powers anymore. So that's what the ruling said. It was unconstitutional what she did, and it was illegal. And just because she's appealing it doesn't make it any less unconstitutional or illegal what she's doing. I didn't choose to stand before you guys today. I chose this because my son was kicked out of school for 3 days for not wearing a mask that he knows is nothing more than a decoration. This is doing nothing to help any of us here. When you guys hand off stuff or you touch stuff, like, this is doing nothing. This is just, my boy's courage has inspired me, and I hope it inspires you and many others to let the kids be kids again. We need to get back to living life, end the politics in school, end these mandates, let our kids be kids, and have the courage to do what's right. Sincerely, one very proud dad. I brought with me a petition that has 113 signatures. Also, I brought some more information for you guys to read about how these masks really aren't really doing what we think they're doing. So I can leave that with you guys.
Yeah, that'd be great, Jeff. Thank you.
Vance, Zachary?
Yes. Hi, thank you. I would like to first say that I'm very proud of our school district and at least keeping us in session so that parents can go to work for the past year and more. My wife and I appreciate that. We did have to quarantine a couple times, but thanks very much for doing the best that you guys could to keep our kids in school. I don't have any paper, so I'm just gonna kind of go by memory here. Thank you for answering some of the questions that we have about the mask mandate. I guess my questions now are, if the governor does happen to extend this mandate, like Chad said, and a lot of us have heard and know that it's not so much a law unless it is put into bill form and passed, unless she has some sort of state of emergency to declare the mandate. Is there any way that we can have some sort of pushback? Maybe not, anything crazy, but something to let our voices be heard for our children. Because I know the one thing that really jump-started this movement for me was the fact that I have 3 kids in school right now. And we went to a football game in the fall. And actually, Mr. Pasquarella said hi to them without, everybody was there without a mask on. And he said hi, and all 3 of my kids walked right past me. Didn't even know who he was. And that to me was sad, I remember having some sort of, at least facial recognition, some sort of relationship with you, Turk.
You're making me officially feel very old right now.
I'm sorry. I just turned 30. But just having that connection, just seeing your face, seeing you smile, say hi to us in the hall, I think that it does play a major role in kids' morale while they're walking around the school. I think that this does definitely put a damper on things, kids' morale, whether they're fighting or, you know, I also knew when somebody was upset so that I wouldn't maybe poke that bear anymore, you know what I mean? We all did it when we were children. But you can see the emotion on their face, okay, he's upset, I should leave him alone. You know, now we don't see that emotion, so I've heard, I don't know exactly what the statistics are, but I've heard that fighting has gone up, arguments have gone up, mainly because I would assume that they can't see the expression on their friend's face. So I guess my main concern is getting them off of our kids. If we feel the need, like you said, if you want your child to go to school with a mask, absolutely, feel free. But I guess my question is just what we do, if she were to mandate it again, what our response would be, you know, hoping that we can have a little bit of pushback so that our children can kind of get back to normal.
Thank you.
Bryn?
Hi, my name is Bryn Carr, and I have a son in the high school, a son in the junior high, and a son who is in preschool, but not here, but also wears masks in preschool. I've worked in virology, and I just graduated from Cornell in public health, but I'm actually not here to tell you about why I have supported the mask mandate so far. I'm actually super sympathetic with frustrated parents because masks are super crappy. Even though I'm glad that we wore them and are wearing them, I totally get it, and there are a lot of issues. I also think it's really awesome that you come and spoke in your voice and that your kids are speaking their voice as well. In 2020, I was on the planning committee for the virtual school year because I had a lot of concerns about the impact that having a virtual school would have on physical, mental, and emotional well-being of our kids. And the teachers and the students and administrators and the parents all did the best they could in the circumstances, but it was definitely an incredibly difficult year for everybody with an undeniable impact on everybody in the school system. So when the school district put in place measures, including masking and social distancing, to allow our students to go back in person full-time, I was really grateful. And I came to just speak today to express that although there's tons of things about masks that I hate, and I actually don't know any teacher or administrator who likes them. All the teachers are really fed up with the masks too for a lot of the reasons that you described. I'm grateful for the measures, including masking, that have allowed our school district to do its best to balance student health and well-being, state mandates, and a positive school experience. I also want to recognize today that the school board and district have very little power to change anything about masking requirements at the moment. And I want to thank the administrators and the school board and teachers and the staff who have really gone above and beyond to make things as normal and successful a year for our kids as possible in these crazy times. As you mentioned, Mr. Turk, I'm really grateful for sporting events and musicals and clubs that teachers have made happen despite everything. And I'm grateful for the hours of extra help and the emotional and academic support and the time that the administrators have put into listening to all of us and all of our opinions. I just found out more about what's going on with preschool and those the extra support staff that have gone there, and it's things like that that make this district really incredible and that I'm proud to be a part of. So I wanted to say thank you to the district for all that you've done to keep our kids learning and growing and happy, and to say that I support you in the decisions that you make and trust you're doing your best for the well-being of our children at this possibly difficult time.
Rose Bush.
Hello. Basically they covered almost everything, well, pretty much everything that's on here, so I'm not going to repeat myself. I have, my son is in 6th grade and my daughter's in 5th grade. It's affected my daughter more wearing the masks than it has really my son, because she has developed like severe anxiety, so it makes it harder for her to breathe when she has anxiety in school as well. So that is one of the issues that has directly affected my family. As far as health-wise, I do not think that children should be wearing masks. I'm not sure how the mask breaks work in school, but the children are taught to like probably hundreds of times a day to wear their masks correctly. It's not over their nose, it's not whatever. My son had, of course, my sixth grader went back and forth with the teacher, you know, saying he had it on right, he didn't have it on right, and then he ended up missing a mask break. So the teacher reached out to me. So I don't agree with them missing mask breaks. They have to wear the mask, and I believe they should be able to have a mask break. I'm not sure how many times a day this occurs, but also one of them had to stay in for recess because they were wearing the mask correctly, and so instead of being able to go outside, have the mask off, be able to get fresh air for 30 minutes, they had to stay inside. So it's really frustrating to me as a mother because I just feel it's very unhealthy for them to wear them for so long. Like if we're in a restaurant right now, or anywhere really, you can have a mask off when you're sitting down. Our children should be able to have their mask off. I don't know how political this is, and the governor controls everybody here. I don't know. We do have the word, if we have a say, but if we do, we just need to unmask our children. I mean, you stated that you're happy that it's here, or that you appreciate it because we have been able to go forward. I mean, that's absolutely why we're wearing them, so that we can do these things and make it somewhat normal. But if we have a say and we have a right, and our children don't really have a voice, because we can't say, oh, you don't have to wear your mask in school, because then they're going to get disciplined for it. When I don't agree with them having to wear one, yes, I agree with social distancing and that kind of thing, but I just feel like enough is enough. And if we do have a say, and I don't know what anybody else's opinion is, but I'm here to be their voice as well, and we're the ones that are responsible to allow this to continue if we are able to fight for their rights and our rights as well. So basically, my question would be to have answered is how often do they have mask breaks at school while we get through the next however long that is still going to be in the mandate, I guess. When we're past February, like what are the mask breaks? How often they're able to have them, and to not let them be punished for not wearing a mask correctly and be, kept inside instead of being able to go outside and enjoy the fresh air for the 30 minutes that a recess possibly is when they're allowed out when it's not 10 degrees. But so that would be the only question that I would have. Two questions.
Both for Rose and for Vance, if I could get your phone number, I'll be sure to give you guys a call tomorrow, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
There aren't any others on the list. Is there any other community voices wishing to be heard?
Vance, if you could also put your age on there, please, so I can. As far as I'm concerned, you're still 15. Let's go around the room.
Do you really want that reminder?
Mr. Trick, if it makes you feel any better, I'm older than him and you were my principal.
I know, Jeff. I get it.
We're going to move on to personnel. If I could please have a motion to approve personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments regarding personnel? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Informational items, Superintendent?
Yes, I have a couple for you. A fundraising update from the class of 2024. I'm going to get involved with the Portland Corn Ducky Derby. And then we also have a Liberty Partnership Program Student Observer update at the high school. That's what I have.
I don't have cheat notes on this.
The only committee that we have to report on, a district committee, is instructional leadership. And Mr. Ebner's not here tonight, so I told him I would pinch hit. They had a meeting right before this meeting, and they spent the majority of the hour talking about the curriculum audit that was recently completed. One of the recommendations from that, if you remember from Dr. Mack's presentation, was to take a look at the structure of the instructional leadership group and try to essentially restructure the job descriptions of the people that are involved with that, and also make it much more streamlined so that we can be more effective and we can really get to the heart of curriculum instruction and assessment and development of those three things. So they spent time talking about what aspects of the current ILC are things that we would definitely want to keep, what are those things that we would do differently. But the key thing being, how can we make sure, we have a lot of people that come to that meeting every time it gets together. The high water mark's about 39 folks, which is awesome. But we can't meaningfully engage 39 people typically, and so how can we best harness all of that energy that they have and enthusiasm and make it more meaningful. Because the bottom line is everybody wants to walk out of a meeting feeling like they accomplished something. And so that was the structure of the conversation today.
Thank you, Superintendent. That brings us to board member activities.
I was at the Class B, the Homer Wrestling team hosted the Class B tournament, Class B Section 3 Championship tournament this past weekend with 9 teams that were hosted here at the school, and great turnout. It was very well run, and it was nice to have, again, something like that event be able to be another step towards normal, so it was a pretty good event.
Parking lot was packed.
Yeah, that was probably, there was also a youth wrestling tournament the next day, on Sunday, that was extremely packed as well, but.
I had the privilege of being a judge down in Marathon for the FFA LDE's Leadership Development event. And it's always impressive to see the courage that our high school kids and some junior high kids have to get up in front of judges and present. I feel like this should be something that isn't just offered in FFA, because it's not just about farmers. It's they'll take these skills with them no matter where they go.
Yep.
I'm constantly impressed when we have the students present. You know, I don't know about you, the nervous and jerky to have to speak. You should see the kids come and present to the board, and I can't get my tongue out of my own way to speak, but the kids are always so articulate, and I'm a nervous Nelly about doing it, but they're phenomenal. So you know, it really inspires me what must be going on in those classrooms, that we're seeing that kind of character development and that kind of courage. But the public speaking and the ability to teach what they know to other people is phenomenal. I'm constantly impressed by the kids that we have, and from first grade all the way up, right? Yeah. That they're reading these things they wrote as little first graders, right?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Very, very impressive.
I've had the opportunity to attend girls varsity basketball, and I want to comment, I wish we had more home games, but last night we were away at a community college, which would have been a home circumstance for us, so it was kind of neat that we had our own national anthem sung by one of our students at the community college. So yeehaw. And, as we talk about normalcy and getting our kids out there and having those opportunities. And she, as always, was absolutely phenomenal, representing our country with the national anthem, not on her home turf. Upcoming event, Superintendent.
Yes, we have another opportunity to host some folks this weekend at the Winter Guard Home Show here in Homer. And the month of March is upon us, believe it or not, and it's Music in Our Schools Month. And so a whole host of opportunities to see our kids displaying their expertise in the area of music. So a lot to look forward to as we continue through the school year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Are you picking my squares or what are you doing? Why?